having discussed assets, we can now move on to the second component of balance sheet, liabilities. Let's look at the balance sheet of Bata Shoe Company Limited again. Assets of Bata Shoe Company Limited are partly financed by liabilities, which is 4,100 million taka. So, what does it mean by liabilities of Bata Shoe Company Limited? Liabilities summarizes what the company owes. Like assets, there are two types of liabilities, current liabilities and non-current liabilities. If you look at the liabilities on the balance sheet of Bata Shoe Company Limited, you'll easily find that there are two broad categories of liabilities on the balance sheet of Bata Shoe Company Limited. These are non-current liabilities and current liabilities. Of course, there are different types of non-current liabilities and current liabilities of Bata Shoe Company Limited. Now, let's look at current liabilities. Current liabilities are short-term liabilities, or the liabilities which are needed to be repaid within 1 year are current liabilities. Now, consider the example I gave you before. For your van, which will require you 20 lakh taka, you need bank loan of 15 lakh taka. So, some part of your bank loan are needed to be repaid within 1 year. So, part of the bank loan which is needed to be repaid within 1 year is current liabilities for you. Now, let's look at different types of current liabilities for firms. It could be accounts payable, short-term debt, and current obligations on long-term debt. Now, consider Bata Shoe Company Limited. Bata Shoe Company Limited might not buy all of its raw material with cash. Rather, it might decide to purchase some of its raw material on credit. So, Bata Shoe Company Limited will pay to its raw material supplier on accounts payable probably within 3 to 4 months. These are the accounts payable which are needed to be paid within short period of time. In the meantime, there could be some other short-term debt which are needed to be repaid within 1 year, and there might be also current obligations on long-term debt. For example, a bank loan might need to be repaid within 5 years, but a part of this bank loan might need to be repaid within next year. So, part of the bank loan which is needed to be repaid within 1 year is the current obligation on long-term debt, and it will be treated as current liabilities. And part of the bank loan which can be repaid over a period of 2 years to 5 years or even more than 5 years will be treated as long-term liability. Now, invoices are accounts payable for the companies. These invoices need to be paid within short period of time, and these are current liabilities for the companies. In the meantime, bank loans which are needed to be repaid within 1 year are short-term liabilities for the firm. Now, let's look at non-current liabilities. Liabilities which are needed to be paid over a long term are non-current liability. For example, bonds issued by the firms are long-term debt or non-current liabilities for the firm. Now let's look at the different kinds of non-current liabilities. So I have already said you that long-term debts like bonds or a long-term bank loan uh, which needed to be repaid within 5 years or 10 years is a non-current liabilities. In the meantime, pensions are on most cases are non-current liabilities. Part of your employees might retire within next year, so part of your pensions might be your current liabilities, but in most cases, most of your employees will retire in 10 years or 15 years or even 20 years. So most of your pension will be your non-current liabilities. There might be also some other types of non-current liabilities. So bond issued by corporations or firms are long-term liabilities. In the meantime, bank loans which are needed to be repaid in 2 years or 5 to 10 years are long-term liabilities of firms or corporations.